Vasudevaya. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagvatam. Uh, it's Canto 7, Chapter 2. Chapter 2 entitled Hiranyakashipu, the King of Demons. And we will be reading from verses 36 onwards. So in this chapter up till now, what we have seen is that Hiranyakashipu's brother, Hiranyaksha, has been killed by the Lord in his boar incarnation. And after performing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies for his brother, Hiranyakashipu, on one hand, he sends his demons to disrupt any kind of yagyas, worshipping the Lord, killing the brahmanas, killing the cows. And on the other hand, he speaks of a philosophy to pacify his sister-in-law and his nephews. No, and we are reading through that philosophical aspect now. But we see, even though they try to be very philosophical, no, but they are not. They not don't themselves follow that instructions. No, so that's the and like same thing like we have with the Ravan. He was also equally knowledgeable philosophically, but practically in following those instructions, uh, and he did not follow them, and that's why. And same thing with Hiranyakashipu. So he's talking about this philosophy and narrating a historical incident where this king, a powerful king, Suyagya, who was a king of a country, Ushinara, and this king got killed in a battle, and all these queens are overwhelmed with grief when they received the and when they saw the dead body of their husband. And so, and we see, and they were lamenting so heavily that they will not let the king's body go for funeral also. No, so when Yamraj saw this thing, he no, so that's the part actually where we are now. So we'll be reading this. No, the king has died, the queens are crying, and they will not let the body go for funeral. So no, let's read to the verse per translation and purport. So 7 canto, second chapter, verse 36. तत्राहा प्रेता बन्धूनाम् आश्रित्या परिवेदितम् आहातान् बालको भूत्वा यमा स्वयं उपागतः. Translation: When the queens were lamenting for the dead body of the king, their loud cries were heard even from the abode of Yamraj. Assuming the body of a boy, Yamraj personally approached the relatives of the dead body and advised them as follows. Purport: Sometimes a living entity is forced to give up his body and enter another one according to the judgment of Yamraj. It is difficult, however, for the conditioned soul to enter another body unless the present dead body is annihilated through cremation or some other means. The living being has attachment for the present body and does not want to enter another, and thus in the interim he remains a ghost. If the living entity who has already left his body has been pious, Yamraj, just, just to give him relief, will give him another body. Since the living being in the body of the king had some attachment to his body, he was hovering as a ghost, and therefore Yamaraj, as a special consideration, approached the lamenting relatives to instruct them personally. Yamaraj approached them as a child because a child is not restricted but is granted admittance anywhere, even to the palace of a king. Beside this, the child was speaking philosophy. People are very much interested in hearing philosophy when it is spoken by a child. So in this verse, we see that the queens were lamenting very heavily for the dead king, for their husband who died in the battlefield. And Yamaraj, when he heard the cries of these queens, he approached that place uh, and disguised as a young boy. So we see that uh, little insight is given by Prabhupada here, that after the person has died, that means that the living entity has to leave the present body and move into another body. So, and Prabhupada says that during that interim period, that living entity remains as a ghost, no, and no, because he has attachment for the present body, and unless and until that body is cremated, he will not be able to move into the other body. So he remains as a interim part. He remains as a ghost. So in this case, this king who was awaiting his new body, because the queens were not letting the body, this present body, to be cremated. So, in order to teach give them instructions, the Yamaraj came as a child. So Prabhupada gives two reasons like why he approached as a child. First of all, the child is not restricted. The child can go anywhere. No, the child is not restricted from entrance, because he is just a small child. So he can go even to the Prabhupada says even to the palace of a king. No, no one will mind it because he is just like a child. Security guards, no one will can't take him seriously. And the other aspect is when child speaks some philosophy, like now we see a child speaking some words from Bhagavad Gita, everyone pays attention to it. So likewise, Yamaraj, when he approached as a child, because people are very much interested in hearing about philosophy from a child, because when a child speaks something, they are attracted by uh, the sweet speaking of a child, and they don't take it seriously. No, they take it in a as an amusement. No, so that's so likewise Yamraj approached the that spot where the dead king body was lying and queens were crying, disguised as a small boy. Verse number 37. Shri Yama Uvacha Aho Amisham Vayasadhikanam Vipashyatam Loka Vidhim Vimoha Yatra Gatastatra Gatam Manusyam Swayam Sadharma Api Sochanti Apartham. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: Sri Yamaraj said, "Alas, how amazing it is! These persons who are older than me have full experience that hundreds and thousands of living entities have taken birth and died. Thus, they should understand that they also are apt to die, yet still they are bewildered. The conditioned soul comes from one unknown place and returns after death to that same unknown place. There is no exception to this rule, which is conducted by material nature. Knowing this, why do they uselessly lament a purport? The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 2:28, Avyaktata Avyaktata Bhutani Vyakta Madhyani Bharata Avyakta Nidhyanani Nidhanani Eva Tatra Ka Paridevana. Translation: all created beings are manifested in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifested again when they are annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation? Quotes close. Accepting that there are two classes of philosophers, one believing in the existence of soul and others not believing in its existence, There is no cause of lamentation in either case. Non-believers in existence of soul are called atheists by followers of Vedic wisdom. Yet, even if for the argument's sake we accept the atheistic theory, there is still no cause for lamentation. Apart from separate existence of soul, the material elements remain unmanifested before creation. From this subtle state of unmanifestation comes manifestation. Just as from ether, air is generated, from air, fire is generated, from fire, water is generated, and from water, earth becomes manifested. From the earth, many varieties of manifestations takes place. For example, a big skyscraper is manifested from the earth. When it is dismantled, the manifestation becomes again unmanifested and remains as atoms in the ultimate stage. The law of conservation of energy remains, but in course of time, things are manifested and unmanifested. That is the difference. Then what cause is there for lamentation in either manifestation or unmanifestation? However, or other, so somehow or other, even if even in the unmanifested stage, things are not lost. Both at the beginning or at the end, all elements remain unmanifested. And, and this does not make any real material difference. If we accept the Vedic conclusion as stated in Bhagavad Gita, antavanta ide deha, that these material bodies are perishable in due course of time. Nityas yoktaha shariranaha. But that the soul is eternal. Then we must remember always that the body is like a dress. Therefore, why lament the changing of a dress? The material body has no factual existence in relation to the eternal soul. It is sometimes like a dream. In a dream, we may think of flying in sky or sitting on the chariot as a king. But when we wake up, we can see that we are neither in the sky nor seated on the chariot. The Vedic wisdom encourages self-realization on the basis of non-existence of the material body. Therefore, in either case, whether one believes in the existence of soul or one does not believe in the existence of soul, there is no cause for lamentation for the loss of body. In the Mahabharata, it is said, Adarshanad iha yataha punas Chardashanam Gataha. This statement could support the theory of atheistic scientists that the child in the womb of mother has no life but is simply a lump of matter. To follow this theory, if lump of matter is aborted by a surgical operation, no life is killed. The body of a child is like a the body of a child is like a tumor, and if the tumor is operated upon and thrown away, no sin is involved. The same argument could be put forward in regard to the king and his queens. The body of the king was manifested from an unmanifested source, and then again it became unmanifested from manifestation. Since the manifestation exists only in the middle between the 2 points of unmanifestation, why should one cry for the body manifested in the interim? Now, very nice actually. So Prabhupada gives all the different angles. So here we see Yamaraj begins to speak philosophically to the relatives of the king, including the queens. He said like no that he pretended like no that that as a child he went to that spot. So he is addressing them and now the relatives as that they are full of experience. They're older than him, and they are full of experience that they have seen in their lives. Now that so many like because they're older than the boy, and disguised as no, Yamraj disguised as a boy, but still they see and being experienced, they have seen so many people taking birth and dying. No, so he is making he's showing his bewilderedness that why these relatives are now acting in this weird way. Now they have seen, they have experienced so many births and deaths of the living entities happening in their lifetime. Now the conditioned soul is coming from some unknown place. No one knows each other before they know, and then in the interim state, it is they come together, and then after a little while again, no, they are unmanifested. No? So he is trying to put out this point. So Prabhupada in the purport very nicely, he puts forth this philosophy uh, that why should one not lament uh, when somebody dies. So he stopped quoting this spiritual angle of a devotee of no, the very conclusion that these material bodies are perishable. The spirit soul, which is the real self, is eternal. So it's just the change of body for the spirit soul. But also the greatness of Prabhupada is that he also is addressing the atheistic class of people. So here he says that that this unmanifestation and manifestation, uh, this is just the material elements. Like if we don't believe in the spirit soul, then this body is composed of the material elements, right? So when the material elements they and they are manifested for some time, and then they get unmanifested. And Prabhupada gives the example of a big skyscraper building, now which may be which is manifested for time being, and when it is dismantled, it again gets unmanifested, and it remains as atoms, material elements. So likewise, Prabhupada is saying that should not be any cause for lamentation, even if we consider the atheistic philosophy, because this manifestation or non-manifestation is something uh, um, no something should not be no it's something, it should not cause any lamentation to us, because things were remain they were unmanifested in the beginning, then they will become unmanifested eventually. So in the interim state, if it is manifested for a while, what make difference it makes, because at the ultimate end, it remains as an atom. No, the law of conservation of energy remains. It stays as an atom, either manifested or unmanifested. So what difference it makes? So in other words, whether we accept this Vedic conclusion or whether we accept the atheistic conclusion, there is nothing to lament if someone leaves the body. And Prabhupada further quotes that he now basically now he is now kind of uh, beating up the atheistic philosophy in the last paragraph, saying that a child, if we are just matter, then the child in the womb, the scientists, they claim that the child in the womb has no and the child in the womb of mother's womb has no life. No, so Prabhupada says, like, if there is no life and it is just matter, lump of matter, then no, then if it is aborted, like no, if they be then no, they do they kill the womb in the no, they kill the baby in the womb of the mother. No, so if that body that the no, if it is aborted by the surgical operation, then there's no loss actually, because it's just matter, lump of matter. No, like a tumor, no, some portion in the body, like a cancer or tumor that grows in the body. So that by surgical operation, they remove the tumor to save the person's life. So likewise, the child in the womb, by atheistic view, if we consider he's just a lump of matter. So if he is aborted from the womb of the mother, there should not be any punishment for that. There's no sin involved, right? So, so Prabhupada is kind of saying, like, no, he's trying to convincing the queens, that queens had no reason for lamenting for their dead husband. If we think from a Vedic perspective, or if we think from the atheistic perspective or materialistic aspect. So, from both perspectives, there was nothing for the queen to lament. No, so that was a very important instruction. So, I, I guess, yeah, we can take the another one. Verse number 38. अहो वयं धन्यात्मा यदत्र त्यक्तः परितभयं न विचिन्तयामः अभाक्षयमान अबलाव्रकादिभिः स रक्षिता यो हि गर्भे. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Translation: It is wonderful that these elderly women do not have a higher sense of life than we do. Indeed, we are most fortunate, for although we are children and have been left to struggle in material life, unprotected by father and mother, and although we are very weak, we have not been vanquished or eaten by ferocious animals. Thus, we have a firm belief that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has given us protection even in the womb of the mother, will protect us everywhere. Purpose. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hardeshu Arjun Tishtati. The Lord is present in the core of everyone's heart. Thus, the Lord gives protection to everyone and gives the different type of bodies the living entity wants to enjoy. Everything is done by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, one should not lament the birth and death of a living being, which have been arranged by the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chahamadi sannivishto matta samrati jnanam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. One must act according to the direction of the Lord within the heart. But because the conditioned soul wants to act independently, the Lord gives him the facility to act and experience the reactions. The Lord says, Sarva dharman paritajya mam ekam sharanam braja. Give up all other duties and simply surrender unto me. One who does not abide by the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is given the facility to enjoy this material world. Instead of restricting him, the Lord gives the conditioned soul the opportunity to enjoy, so that by mature experience, after many, many births, Bahunam Janam Namante, he will understand that surrender to the lotus feet of Vasudev is the only duty of all living beings. So here we see very nicely, that Yamraj is kind of making fun. He's kind of taking a sarcastic view here. He's a sarcastic. He's being little sarcastic by saying that these elderly women who have they don't seem to have they don't seem to have a higher understanding. No? And what that understanding is, that even though he's just a child, no, he's just a small boy who is left out to struggle in this material world, even though he's weak, he's unprotected, still, uh, still he has firm faith that Supreme Lord, who gave him protection, right from the point when he was in the mother's womb until now when he is out in this material world. So, he, in other words, he and Yamraj is saying that these elderly women, they don't have firm faith on the Supreme Lord. No, that Supreme Lord who is giving protection, who is giving all the necessities to all the living entities, all the food, everything, that protection, everything that is needed by the living entity is been provided by the Supreme Lord. And so Prabhupada begins to say that Lord's from Bhagavad Gita, where Lord says he is situated in everyone's heart, and he is giving everyone protection. So we see that everything is acting under the protection of the Supreme Lord. No, that we should have firm faith. And by Supreme Lord, who is situated in our heart, from him we are being given remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. No, so everything is being directed by the Supreme Lord. We should understand that, and that's why Lord's last instruction in Bhagavad Gita is to give up all duties, sarv dharman paritajya, to give up all duties and just surrender unto him. No, so uh, if we are abiding by these rules, abiding by this law, abiding by these instructions of the Lord, then will develop firm faith in the Lord, and we will be under his protection. But if we are acting, if we are having a separatist mindset, if we are having an independent mindset, then and because of that we don't want to abide by the instructions of the Lord, then the Lord will not interfere with our free will. No, the Lord will give us the opportunity to gain experience in a hard way. No, by giving us a different type of bodies in this material world. And through those bodies, we will experience in a hard way and mature. And with that mature experience, we will come to this conclusion that Krishna is giving in the last verse of last instruction of Bhagavad Gita. Sarv dharman paritajya mamekam sharnam braja. Means give up everything, all the duties, and just surrender to the Lord. So whatever opportunity, no, Lord definitely is very kind because of our independent mentality. He does not want to interfere with our free will. And he has given this opportunity to us in this material world to exercise our free will, no, to get to learn real time uh, and become mature. And after those millions of lifetimes, Prabhupada says, no, Bahunam Janam Namante Jnanaman Mam Prapadante Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sardulabha. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that after millions of lifetimes, in this material world, suffering through these different bodies, the living entity becomes mature. Mature to give up this independent separatist mentality, heed to the instructions of the Lord, surrender to the Lord, and go back home, back to our spiritual world. uh, this material world is a foreign place for us. The Lord does not want us to stay in this material world, but come back to the spiritual world and associate with him. No, so that's the whole plan for the Lord, and he's been very patiently waiting for millions of lifetimes. He's been assisting us. He is witnessing our activities within our heart. So when that change of heart will happen from that independent separatist mentality to enjoy separate from the Lord, when that mentality changes to the surrendering mood to the Lord, then the Lord will be reciprocating with us, and we will be able to hear his instructions. So with this, I conclude today's discussion. So we have discussed from verses 36 through 38, where Yamraj is instructing the relatives of the dead king, Suyagya, and and he is trying to instruct them in this philosophical aspect that there is nothing to lament in this when somebody leaves the body. Hare Krishna. So I have opened up the forum for any questions or any concerns or any additions that devotees will like to do. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, wonderful class. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, in the verse, the I don't have the book. Yeah, okay. In which they talk about the lump of this thing, it doesn't matter. I don't understand what context is being said. Uh, It
Yeah.
confused me a
So
little bit.
Mataji, sorry, I was, so yeah, actually
Hmm.
Prabhupada is like definitely giving this the context. Definitely, Prabhupada was trying to uh, even though he gave the materialistic, he gave the atheistic viewpoint. From atheistic viewpoint, there is no soul, only material elements are there. So there is no change, atoms remains, right? So that was the first paragraph. Then second paragraph from the Vedic viewpoint, Prabhupada gives that input, like, no, there is nothing for us, anybody to lament, no, if somebody leaves the body, right? Because the soul remains, right? Soul is eternal and all. So then Prabhupada in the third paragraph, he's quoting from Mahabharata, no, where he and that particular statement, which that Prabhupada quotes from Mahabharata, is using that if this statement, in which means now that particular statement, uh, it's Prabhupada says also supports this atheistic viewpoint, no, that the child in the womb of the mother has no life, but is simply a lump of matter. So that particular line, Prabhupada is trying to emphasize again from the viewpoint that these atheistic viewpoint, which is kind of propounded in that line that Prabhupada is giving from Mahabharata. So from that viewpoint also, uh, there is nothing to lament if somebody leaves a body. Like, no, Prabhupada is saying that the child in the womb has no life, as per the atheistic viewpoint. So if the child has no life, so if someone uh, undergoes miscarriage, or someone through the surgical process, he kills the, he removes the womb, you know, from the mother's body, in the premature state. So then definitely there is no sin involved, because it's like that lump of matter is just like some tumor which has developed in the body, uh, and it has been removed. No, so Prabhupada is kind of re-quoting uh, to the atheistic viewpoint, but in other words, he is also trying to say that no, like there is, from the, even from the state laws, it is sin to kill the womb, right? So Prabhupada is kind of beating up, and so he achieves the two things here. So first of all, like, he is again emphasizing that from the materialistic point of view, also, that there was nothing for the queens to lament, right? But at the same time, what I can take from this, that Prabhupada is driving, is that, like, even from the state laws, it is sin to kill the womb. But from the atheistic viewpoint, if we say that the child has no life in the womb, so then there should not be any sin involved. No, where, but it is sinful and it is punishable by the state laws. So Prabhupada is beating up this atheistic philosophy, which just don't believe in the existence of the soul. They just believe that it is all matter, and some combinations of these matter elements brings up life, and when that combination does not work, no, then that elements dismantle, no. So Prabhupada, definitely, like, no, he has this vision where he tries to, he by he has that vision where he tries to achieve different things through same line. Yeah. Is that is that so it was in verse number 37, last paragraph, where Prabhupada says that, like, do you, is that okay, Madai? But
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. So it's a little bit, I was a little confused because, I was thinking it's a sin to, but then he gives
yeah,
he's talking to the atheistic.
yeah, yeah. and
So,
and we see also, like, Krishna also, like, no, we see, like, no, at times, like, no, Krishna, like, because the Lord and his devotees, they want to attract different classes of people, right, towards Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada is doing the same magic. So Krishna, like, no, when Indra Indra worship was happening, right? So Krishna gives this Karam Mimamsa philosophy, which is like an atheistic philosophy, where which says like, no, do your action and you will be rewarded accordingly. There is no superior power, but just do your dutiful actions and you will be rewarded accordingly. So that is what Krishna was trying to use in order to uh, defer Nand Maharaj and other cowherd boys, other cowherd men from worshipping Indra, right? So at different times, and likewise in Mahabharata, we have this thing, which is kind of, Prabhupada says, is supporting the atheistic viewpoint. But that supports the atheistic viewpoint, but even from the state law, it is crime to kill the womb in the mother's, no, kill the womb in the, So, so that means this, the atheistic viewpoint that Prabhupada is using to support that there was still no reason for the queens to lament can is also hollow and bogus, even from the state laws. That is something, we can learn from this. And Prabhupada, basically, we can see that from these purports, reading these purports have attracted different classes of people towards Krishna consciousness. People who had no interest in Krishna consciousness were attracted by these purports, because Prabhupada is targeting different classes of people to drive the point that the most important thing is to take up this Krishna consciousness process, and uh, and that is the success of life. Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And also, like Yamraj coming as a child, it says that I mean, it's trying to say that normally when people hear of Yamraj, they're scared, right? He's going to come and take my life. But here Yamraj comes disguised as a child, so he could be heard. Could you a little bit explain more about the role of Yamraj here?
Yeah. Basically, like, no, we see like Yamraj is one of the Mahajans, 12 Mahajans, right? So definitely, like, no, wherever he gets the opportunity, he tries to give that philosophy, to people, so that, like, everyone gets benefited. And when all these things, over and over, people hear that, that abhadrani, all that inauspiciousness that is there in our heart from millions of lifetimes, that begins to liquidate, right? So, and definitely being a Mahajan, devotee of the Lord, uh, he is looking out for an opportunity to preach, to help people become Krishna conscious, help the Lord in his mood, in his mission to reclaim the fallen souls. So, and his coming as a boy, was appropriate, because that shows that, as Prabhupada says, the devotees of Krishna are very clever. They are chatur. They know, they're clever not for their own purpose, but they are clever to help others, right? So in this way, like being a devotee of the pure devotee Mahajan, he he devised this plan to come like a child, come like a boy. And we see Prabhupada gives two reasons that boys, they can come anywhere. Even the security people won't, the soldiers and all, they will not be, they will not be, cautioned by seeing a child moving around, right? Because it's the king's funeral, king's relatives and all are assembled. So seeing a child, they will not be alarmed. And then when the child speaks some, like, even we see now, if he speaks a verse of Bhagavad Gita, no, like everyone gets charmed, like, no. So so that's the beauty of, that's the cleverness of devotees of the Lord, that they see how the message can be delivered, the heavy duty message can be delivered in a way that people can digest it, right? So like Prabhupada gives this heavy duty philosophy, you know, in such a light way that these Westerners were able to digest it. And when they became mature, the Prabhupada gave them higher philosophy, more contents. So likewise, we should The point is how much benefit we are giving to the other people, right? Not just talking dry philosophy, like as Hiranyakashipu is speaking up. No, what is the value of that philosophy which you don't yourself follow? No, which practically you are lacking on yourself in following that philosophy, right? So, in a way, devotees they speak simple so that other party can understand it. They devise different ways how the philosophy can be propagated so other people can be benefited because they themselves are practicing serious devotional service. So the Lord guides them how they can be, how they can achieve it. So, like Prabhupada was empowered by Krishna to achieve the mission of the Lord. So likewise, but the on the other side, the atheistic class of people like Ravan or Hiranyakashipu, we are seeing now they may speak very very high philosophy, but they are hollow from inside because they're practically not following them and that themselves. No, so that's the sad part. So no, and that's why they don't benefit anyone from their association. No, so here Krishna is guiding Yamaraj to come up with this way to preach the relatives and the queens of the king. Yeah, is it?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And I was remembering the, Lord Vamana, they also came like in a different way for
Yeah,
Bali Maharaj, Lord also
yeah,
does that. And and the Mahajans, the 12 Mahajans, they also do that same thing, similar thing. But their purpose is to, give comfort and also to teach something or the other. Yeah. Thank you so much,
yeah,
Prabhuji, for the answers. And I felt that this, sometimes they say it's very important to read Bhagavatam in association of devotees. Now, this particular verse that you explained about the lump and all, it's so hard. I went through it before the class started a little bit. I was reading, but the thing is that it was very hard to understand unless we are an association of devotees. So, thank you so much for
no,
giving your association and we were able to understand. Yeah, Hare
yeah.
Krishna.
No. Hare Krishna, Mother Prabhupada has done the magic. We are just repeating nothing much to our credit, actually. Yeah,
And
thank
also, Prabhuji, one more thing, I really wanted to appreciate your wife, Mataji. Her classes are so wonderful. I had already known her name and I knew that she's your wife. But this conference call, Mataji, Shamarasika Mataji invited her, and she's like so much of with the. She speaks from her heart, and I really wanted to appreciate. So you, being the husband, should know that she's so good and we are so happy, and like I know she's won't be booking for a couple of months because
you.
she's in India, but we really enjoyed her class. Again, we look forward to
No,
her
sure,
classes.
Mataji. And it's
So
our
nice.
spiritual masters, Prabhupada, all the Vaishnavas, their association that makes a difference. No, and definitely nothing to our credit. So, no, thank you, Mataji. So, I think we can conclude today's conversation, right? Vancha kalptarubhascha kripa sindhu bhaivacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo
Namo
namo.
Namo.
Namo Namo.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय,
Jai.
गौर गदाधर प्रभु जी की जय.
Jai.
And thank you to all the devotees who joined today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.